Morning, kiddos. Mr. Mitchell here. Just checking in. It's been a while since I've got to see you all, so I just wanted to drop in, say hey. And I'm also going to try and teach you just a small math lesson today. So, I guess let's get started. This morning I woke up. I was hungry. I was like, what could I eat? Could I have bacon, eggs, cereal? Nah. I want cake this morning. So I tried to think about how I could take my urge for cake in the morning before Mrs. Mitchell finds out what I'm doing and turn that into a math lesson that can help you all. So this morning I'm going to make a cake. I just happen to have this pack of cake mix. Only thing is, each box comes with just enough for one cake. Well, Mr. Mitchell's pretty hungry, and Sophie and Elijah, I know I'm going to have to share with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double this. I'm going to double this cake batch up today. And we're going to do that using addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We're going to be using whole numbers along with a few fractions. So for those, especially those third graders in my class where I told you that I don't have you do math every day just for the fun of it, even though it is really fun at times, there are purposes and reasons why we teach you certain things, especially using math. So today, we're going to take this cake recipe, we are going to double it, and hopefully it'll turn out pretty good for you. So just disclaimer, I have a few notes down here because my students know very well that Mr. Mitchell gets pretty scattered, and I just want to talk, and if I don't stay on track, we'll never get this cake done. So, first and foremost, if you ever get the opportunity to bake anything, do not go into the kitchen and do anything without an adult. Okay? I've asked permission, my wife said it's okay, but you cannot do it unless an adult or an older loved one is there with you. So, if you see this video, don't hop in the kitchen and start playing with dolls, okay? That's a no-no. Plus, I'll be getting a lot of emails. So, I want to double my recipe. So, what I have here first is I have a bag that has I was drying my hands when you first saw me, so I have washed my hands. I have washed and sterilized the equipment that I'm using. So, that's obviously a big point. It should always be, even before the craziness has happened, but always wash your hands, okay? So what I have is I have one bag, yellow cake mix. Cake mix is 16 ounces. I need to double that. I want to add 2 bags of cake mix because I want to have twice the size of a cake. So if I take 16 ounces and I add it to an additional 16 ounces, I can get an answer using one or two ways. I could use 16 plus 16. Remember, it's very important, especially older kids, it's very important, place value when you see equations written like this. Make sure your ones are lined up, your tens are lined up. So what we're going to do is I'm going to write it this way, now I'm going to write it in another format that I've seen younger students use. And some of the first and second grade teachers definitely correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to put out any incorrect information. So first and foremost, so when we have our place value, we add straight up and down. So 6 plus 6 equals 12. So for that, we're going to put our 2 down here. And we're going to regroup our 1 above the tens column. So now we have 1, 2, 3. So 16 added to 16 gives us a total of 32. Now another way I've seen this done is when you take 16 and you add 16. We are very good with our tens, so something I enjoy seeing younger children do is they'll break these 16s down into 2 other numbers. So we're going to break the 16 down into a 10 and a 6. We do that because 10 plus 6 takes us right back to 16. We're going to do the same thing, 10 plus 6. So now instead of having 2 numbers, we have 4, and we can continue to add those together. So we take 10, add it to 10. That gives us 20. We take 6, add it to 6, gives us 12. And now we take our 20, add it to our 12, place values line, 2 plus 0 equals 2, 2 plus 1 equals 3. So in total, it gives us an answer of 32 ounce. I said ounce. The unit measurement that we are using is in ounces. So 32 ounces of cake mix. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these and very carefully, using my scissors, none of this, none of that craziness, I'm going to carefully cut a line on the bag. And we are just going to add that mix in there. Just like that. I hope my bowl is big enough. So there's 16 ounces. We add a second group of 16 ounces. That gave us a total of 32 ounces. That bowl looks a little small, so let's double check. Mr. Mitchell has a secondary bowl just in case. So, there's our first problem. 16 and 16 gives us 32. Next, we have water. The recipe calls for 1 cup of water. So if I need 1 cup of water for 1 batch, how many would I need for 2 batches? Pretty cut and dry, right? 1 cup plus 1 cup equals 2 cups. 2 cups of water. So 1 cup plus 1 cup equals 2 cups. I said cup. Let me put that S in there for Miss Weber gets me. 2 cups. So I'm going to take my cup, I'm going to step to the side, and I'm going to fill this up not once, but twice. I stepped over there because I have a little water thing on the fridge. There's 1. And 2. So, cake mix, check. Water, check. Now we've got to add the lovely vegetable oil, which I have right here. The recipe calls for 1/4. And within these cups, I have multiple measurements. So, inside this cup, I have 1/4. Nope, sorry. Right there. Now, the thing is, the recipe says 1 batch needs 1/4. So how many would 2 batches need? And I think the best way to solve this is taking those lovely fractions and we add those together. We add those together. And right now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to correct myself my first mistake. It is not 1/4. 1 batch calls for 1/2 cup. So if 1 batch calls for 1/2 cup, we're going to need a second half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my equation, and it looks just like this. 1/2 plus 1/2. As you can see, 1 is my numerator, the number up at the top of the fraction. 2 is my denominator. When you add and subtract fractions, kiddos, you do not change your denominator across. When your denominator is the same like that, you are just going to leave it alone. So, in saying that, if 2 is here and 2 is here, what is my denominator over here going to be? That's right, it's going to be a 2. It's going to stay the same. Now, for adding, you will take your numerator and you will add straight across. So, 1 plus 1 equals 2. So I know I need 2/2 cups of oil. Now, the best thing about fractions is we can simplify this. My kiddos know, and I know a lot of the older kiddos who've worked with fractions know, that when your numerator is the same as your denominator, that equals 1 whole. So if I have 2/2 cups of oil, I need 1 cup of oil. 1 cup of oil. So I'm going to take this. And I'm going to pour it in my handy dandy cake mix. Hope I don't get oil all over. Mrs. Mitchell will not be happy. So, one last problem before we move on to the lovely eggs. I want to look and see how much liquid total did I put in my cake mix already. So let's think back. I had how many cups of water? That's right, 2 cups of water. And how many cups of oil did I have? And you remember it said 2/2, but when the numerator is the same as the denominator, that is equal to 1 whole. So I had 1 cup of oil. So if I want to find out how many liquids I had total, I would take 2 cups of water, add it to 1 cup of oil. 2 plus 1 equals 3. So I had 3 cups of liquid. This cake is going to be huge and delicious. So, moving on to one of the kids' favorite things to do, and that's dealing with eggs. Why, I don't know. I think it's because we had chickens there. Why? So, one batch calls for not 1, not 2, but 3 eggs. Let's move these scissors over there. So, 3 eggs. Only problem is, I'm not making 1 batch. I'm making 2 batches. 1 large batch. I've doubled my recipe. So instead of 3 eggs, I'm going to need to double that. And I can do that in 1 or 2 ways. I can take 3 eggs for 1 batch and add it to 3 eggs for the second batch. Or I could use my multiplication skills and know that 1 batch calls for 1 group of 3. So a second batch will call for a second group of 3, which would look like 3 times 2. So if I were to take my 1 group, hopefully you can see it, 1, 2, 3, and my second group, 1, 2, 3, and I add these together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I know that 3 times 2 equals 6. And in return, 3 plus 3 equals 6. So how many eggs do I need for my recipe? I need half a dozen, 6 eggs. So we're going to take these and we are going to do our best not to make a mess. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and last but certainly not least, little chickadee, 6. I'm sorry I'm not like Emerald or Rachel Ray where I could just crack them one hand at a time. So we're going to set this to the side so I can clean this later. I'm going to step to the side for a moment so I can wash the raw egg yolk off my hands. Now remember, when you're washing your hands, you're singing a song in your head, or you can sing it out loud. Depends on what you like to do. Just make sure you're washing your hands really good, okay? Not only does that help with germs, it helps with what we call, especially when you're cooking, cross-contamination. Cross-contamination, okay? So, now we have our cake mix, we have our water, we have our eggs, and we have our oil. So now what we're going to do is we are going to mix it up a little bit. Nope, that's not what I want. Aha! Always be careful. Just a word of wise, especially your older, your family members, they'll tell you, never plug a blender in. Actually, don't plug a blender in at all. Just let them do it. But if you're in a position, never plug it in, then mess with these prongs right here. Whew, no, because if you accidentally kick it on, it's going to be throwing up weird hands gestures, and we're not going to do that. So what we need to do is we are going to mix this smoothly, I'm hoping. I've been known to make a mess or two. So I'm going to place it in, and I'm going to slowly begin to work the mixture around. If we make a mess, that's okay. Make sure you always keep your hand clear of what's going on in the bowl. You definitely do not want to hit your finger on one of these mixers. We can tell it's mixing up pretty good. It's starting to look kind of like a banana pudding mix. If we have to, we'll throw just a little bit of water in there. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So we had 2 cups of water. I'm going to add an additional ½ cup. So that would bring our total. 2 plus 1/2 would be 2½ cups. Thank you for bearing with me. I've never done a cooking show, let alone a math lesson and cooking show. So. But we will survive this together. While I'm mixing this, I hope everybody's having an enjoyable break. I know some of us love a long break, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I know I speak for myself and many other teachers when we say we are ready to come back to school. We're ready to see you all. We're ready to enjoy time with you. So we got our fingers crossed, hoping for good news very soon. So when you finish it, it looks like a banana pudding type. So I'm going to slowly bring it out while it's spinning, hopefully not throwing it. And now I'm going to go ahead and just unplug it. Safety first. We'll set that there. I'll get to that in a little bit. So there's our mix. We have one more math problem though. But before I do that, I'm going to take my pan that I'm going to use. See, it has my name on it, so I know it's mine. I'm going to take a little bit of coconut oil. Just going to give it a quick spray. Because I don't like a sticky cake unless it's got hot fudge sundae on it. And now I'm going to take my mix and I'm going to pour it evenly in this pan. Mr. Mitchell made another mistake. He did not grab one of his utensils. So that's what I'm going to do real fast. See, it says I love baking. I don't, but for you all, I'll do it. Just going to get the rest of that out of there. All right, I think that's good enough. Going to make sure it's smoothed out. You want a nice level playing field for all your delicious toppings. So when I'm going to do that, I'm going to sit it to the side. My oven was preheating. Like I said, kids, let the adults do that if this is something you do in the future. So it's ready to go. I'm going to place this in the oven. And then we're going to move on to our last step. We'll set a nice timer on that. We'll check it later. So one last thing. Everybody loves vanilla icing or just any kind of icing on their cake. Only thing is, I need 3 colors and I only bought one. So I'm going to find my blue. I'm going to find my yellow, even though it looks orange. I want blue, yellow, and white. So the thing is, I need to split this among 3 colors. There are 15 ounces in this. So if I were to set this up like a division equation, I could say 15 being my ounces divided by 3 colors. So I'm going to say 15 divided by 3. And the tool I've chosen to do this with is I've used a number line. We are going to reverse count or repeated subtraction. So I know I have 15 ounces. I need to divide it equally among 3 groups. And when I get to 0, I know I can do that. So I use the other digit that they gave me, which was 3. So I'm going to start at 15, and I'm going to count by groups of 3. And the number of stops that I make, you'll see the number of stops that I make will tell me how many ounces will go for each color. So let's start at 15, and we're going to count by 3. So we go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. So each time I stopped after 3, I made a dark circle. So now I'm going to go back and count those. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I know that 15 divided by 3 is 5. So each color will get 5 ounces of icing. So, unfortunately, the cake will not be ready to see at the end of this video. I don't have multiple ovens set up with multiple people helping. But what I will do is I will take a picture of the finished product. Since you're with me through this long and painful process, and I will post them to our school's website. I'll let Dr. Weiniger and Ms. Means take care of that. So, I guess just really thank you for allowing me to do this. Yeah, I hope you had fun a little bit. I had a great time, even when I mess up. But that just shows you, I mean, teachers make mistakes. I make about 6 a day, at least. And my students can vouch for that. So I miss you all. If there's anything that I can do or anybody at the school can do, please just reach out. We can't wait to get back and enjoy the remainder of the school year. So until then, keep reading, keep harnessing, keep working with them math skills. Don't let that rust set in, and we will see you soon. We love you guys.